Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Jeff Maylin documentary, A Half Step Down. My name is James Plopa. This esteemed gentleman is Jeff Maylin. Today is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2009.
Well, we got enough cold coffee and cigarettes to make the journey to some of the cool places in Detroit.
The purpose of our documentary today is kind of a revolving narrative of Detroit blues history. And no greater name comes to mind than Mr. Jeff Maylin. First question to you, Jeff. How would you define the blues?
You really want to talk about the blues? A lot of people think it's a really depressing thing. Are you sure you want to talk about it? A lot of people don't even want to listen to it. But if you really want to talk about it, I guess we could do that. The blues is a sacred kind of beautiful music brought here by the African American people. Unfortunately, were enslaved by the white man, who was deluded. But blues is a beautiful kind of music of self-expression, which ideally should be, there should be no color barriers. And like a lot of the old bluesmen, it's about that emotional universe of feeling and improvisation. A lot of times I think of playing live blues as kind of impressionistic art of the moment. Almost like Van Gogh painting, but you can hear it, it's music, blues being the foundation of all American music, from which every other kind of music is some kind of mutation. Not to demean other kinds of music, but so yeah, blues is a myriad of things.
Where are you taking us to today, Jeff?
Well, I was thinking we could see at the old Soup Kitchen Saloon. Is there over around Franklin Street and Jefferson. And it's part of blues history in Detroit. See if we can feel the vibes down there and catch what's going on down there.
Now, for those of us who don't know, what is the Soup Kitchen Saloon, or what was the Soup Kitchen Saloon in the past tense?
Well, there are a lot of international people there. It was internationally known, and it was a very famous venue throughout the world. You know, like Albert Collins played there, Charlie Hooker, Stevie Ray, a bunch of legendary bluesmen, and it was just a real historical place in Detroit. And I was lucky enough to play down there. Some of my other fellow bluesmen who used down there have a jam session, and as a blues player, if you got some gigs in the Soup Kitchen, you felt like you had actually done something really cool in town. You know, it was like playing in that boardwalk or park place, rather than me living wrapped up in the ghetto of Royal Oak, rotting away, watching endless TV.
That's where we're at right now, is Royal Oak, right?
Yeah, nothing against Royal Oak. We're in the deep, dangerous ghettos of Royal Oak right now.
That's a joke, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff, how long have you been experiencing the blues?
My entire life.
How long have you been playing the blues?
At least 40 years. At least about 40 years. Give or take a couple hours, a couple minutes. How you doing, James? I feel rather copacetic today.
I'm feeling marvelous.
That's a beautiful thing, and I respect and honor that about you. It is a sunny fall day, still October, right?
It's actually November 3rd today, Jeff.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, well, I was close. Well, it's like I told you about being in tune on the guitar. You know, it's the idea in modern music that everything's got to be so polished and perfect. Well, to me, there's something very artistic and aesthetically beautiful within that which the world would construe as imperfection. perfection. You know, those shades, those gray areas in between polished lines of music where you have to be absolutely in tune. But you know, maybe blues is more a reflection of the world because it's kind of imperfect. That's where the art lies, and that I haven't seen any perfection here on the planet of you.
Not recently. Now,
No.
you know, I've heard you play, and you play a half step down, right?
Uh-huh.
And why is that important?
I don't know. Well, you know, I finger pick, and I think I like the idea of the strings being flexible. And when you tune down, there's guys who tune down further. You know, like Albert King, I think he turned, or at least Albert Towns, tuned down whole step to a D. Just get different kind of tones and stuff out of the strings. But I like it, makes it more flexible, being that I finger pick and I can fly a lot easier with the strings tuned down.
And flying is your method of playing the scales and notes?
Well, it's like a good figure skater, you know, it's a lot easier for them to skate if they didn't have, you know, leg weights on. It's like taking the leg weights off, or you know a lot about boating. It's like dismantling that anchor and being freed up, you know, where you can do your thing.
Now, you say you've been in the blues scene now 40 years. Would you like to talk a little bit about the early years? What they were like, who was involved with that, kind of the origins of the Detroit blues scene?
Well, I wasn't at the complete origins of the Detroit blues scene, but one of the guys lucky enough to be part of the blues scene, you know, and part of what I'm going to talk about today is the fact that I'm very humbled and very blessed to even have been part of the blues scene that was happening in Detroit, and I kind of want to, in some way, pay homage to all the bluesmen who may not still be with us, or are still out there. Is it maybe being a validating factor, at least showing them that respect that I didn't just happen. I was a student, which I took seriously, and many of the great bluesmen in Detroit, like Bobo Jenkins and Willie D. Warren, Little Matt Collins, Eddie Kirkland, John Lee Hooker, a lot of guys that if I wasn't aware of their presence or their guitar playing, I couldn't have been able to express myself as well. As we're cruising down Woodward, heading south. I'm trying to maintain the speed limit because I don't want the man on my ass, you know that, James. Nothing against cops, we love cops. There's good cops that pay like anybody else, but the way I look at life a lot of times at this point, I'm glad just to be a regular schnook.
Right.
Play by the rules and not do anything ugly.
So, you played with the Butler twins. Lemmy Durrell was another character.
Lemmy Durrell was actually a really neat guy. When I was in my early 20s, I was hanging out at some car wash, I think in a very blues town of Bloomfield, Michigan, at a car wash. I was talking to a brother, and we somehow brought up the blues, and I played, and he said, well, we got this, these guys have got a gig at this place called the Green Door on 94 in Van Dyke. And so I went down there. I was the only white boy, and I was kind of messed up with my psychedelic drugs. And I dressed pretty wild. Tried to look like a white Jimi Hendrix in my own sick way, but not to emulate him. But no, I was made to feel very welcome at the bar, and I used to play a white Telecaster. It was about a 1969 Telly, banana white Telly, and Lemmy Durrell hooked me up. He let me play. I barely knew the chords, but I gave me my shot. People dug it, and I had a great time. And that was one of the first blues bars I played at.
That was back in what, 68, you said?
Might have been the early 70s, probably ago. Could have been, I think it was like 70 or 71. That's around the time I started playing with Bobo Jenkins. I was going to Oakland University for a while, and a buddy of mine had a, I was still playing some folk guitar, but I was trying to become a blues man, and so I went to see my buddy Rick Radner, who was a great acoustic and folk guitar player and singer. Kind of reminded me of Jim Croce. So I went down to see him at the Abstention, which was a coffee house at Oakland University, and right after Rick played, I seen these black guys. Here comes Bobo Jenkins, and they started playing blues, and I was ecstatic. And I went to Bobo. I said, "Bobo, you care if I sit in? I play a little blues." He said, "No problem." So I sat in. I did real well, and then he wanted my phone number, so I said, "That's pretty cool." And I called him. He wanted me to play in the band, and I figured, even though I was, it's mostly a lead guitar, so learning it, I kind of figured he wanted me to play some bass guitar, so I went to Detroit and rented a bass, but then he said, "No, I want you on rhythm." I said, "Okay." And I didn't know too much where the chords were, but they let me know, and I'd be cool, and then he popped me a lead and I'd go down. And that led to a lot of cool things, because I think I was driving my mom's yellow Riviera in the ghetto, which was real breathtaking, like as some kind of pimp, and I'm just some Jewish kid out of Detroit, hanging out. But anyway, Bobo had this studio called Big Star Productions over on Joy Road in Linwood, and I got to hang out there and rehearse, and Bobo was making his own records, and I'd drive around with him in his green Cadillac. Bobo was an awesome guy, and he was one of the original Chess recording artists, and I was ecstatic that I got to hang out with these blues men, and I said, "Damn." And then the real cool thing is just hanging out there. A lot of the known guys in Detroit, would hang out at the Big Star studio. And then first time I got to meet Uncle Jesse White over on 29th Street, as Bobo and I were cruising around green Cadillac, and it was like a light emerald green, something like that. And the guy who answered the door was one of the Butler twins. I always had trouble telling Curtis and Clarence apart, but that's how I got to hook up with Uncle Jesse. And back then he was called Mr. Jesse. But I think it was a drummer in Detroit, an old buddy of mine, an old school drummer. He called himself a street player, Bobby Carrier, who coined the phrase Uncle Jesse, from what I believe. Either him or Squeezebox, so I hope Squeezebox, wherever you are, you're doing better. But anyway, and then they started all of a sudden one day, instead of calling, "Hey, Mr. J," say Uncle Jesse. So it was more endearing. There's Palmer Park Golf Course on the right. Now, the beauty of Palmer Park, they let you play there a lot. It's a lot of cool guys, and I'm out of control of golf. It's like blues, and you're not going to believe it if I tell you who I play with. A good buddy of mine by the name of Robert Johnson. And he's a golfer, but he's his brother, and he's a buddy. His name is Robert Johnson. So that time he told me, "Jeff, who are you hanging out?" I said, "I'm hanging out with Robert Johnson." I was telling the truth, that. I was at the crossroads, baby. Going down to the crossroads.
Well, we've transcended south of 8 Mile, so we're officially in Detroit.
Yes.
And you've laid a good foundation. How many places were you playing around town at? You used to hit a lot of open mics and different gigs all through the week. But I've heard numbers as high as like 3-4 a night you'd be playing.
For a while I was playing at least 3-4, sometimes 5 times a night, with my bass player Carlos, my drummer David McCown, and some good guys. I just tried to get gigs wherever I could. I wasn't necessarily all being the politicians. It wasn't like any kind of great love affair. I didn't have anything against them, but So I pretty much just get gigs wherever I can find them, you know.
Yeah. That leads into my next question. What is or what was your favorite venue? Place to play?
I'd have to say the Attic Bar in good old Hamtramck, Michigan.
Now that place, is that still there?
We may cruise by there a day. I hear tell it's still there, and you know, I just, you know, haven't played for a while. I'm doing some gigs here and there, trying to get back out. I just spent a lot of time meditating. But yeah, we'll check it out. I think the building's still there, but they don't play blues there anymore. But in its heyday, everybody was somebody in Detroit in the blues scene. We hanging out at the Attic. I was fortunate enough to play there. Guys like, you know, and we had great Detroit bluesmen playing there, like little Matt Collins, who was Mr. Bowe's half brother, and he had Mississippi Ale that always tuned down to D. He could make that guitar sound like a slide guitar. He wasn't playing slide. I don't know how he did it, but he's an old great bluesman who I would say spiritually they're already in the pocket, like little Matt Collins was on stage. He was spiritually already in the pocket. You know, and hanging out a lot of the older bluesmen somehow, maybe by osmosis, I learned something awesome, you know. The gift they were giving me, the old bluesmen, which I always told my buddies, they're the great American treasure.
Yeah.
You know?
The 86 is running good today.
Yeah, she's running okay. She might need a little bit of muffler work. As long as she's running, I'm blessed. You know, I can go out and make some money and try to get rent for another month.